Today we're going to show you how to remove a KTM rear shock. Actually, everybody, just kidding. We're going to show you how to get a KTM shock out quite easily. It can either be a maddening project or it can be quite easy. So if you know the little tricks on KTMs, it's really not that hard. And today we're going to show you how using this 2019 790 Duke. So on the 790 in particular, you're going to find that sometimes pulling the shock out can be a little bit difficult as far as either both the bottom and the top. Now, what a lot of people don't know about the mounts on these shocks is most KTMs either have floating pivot points where they have pressed in pieces that can actually be knocked back and forth. You can actually knock it out. You can put a little socket, once the shock is out, you can put a socket in there, you can put an extension on that socket. Just give it a couple taps and open it up a little bit and the shock will drop right in. In particularly Super Dukes, Super Duke 1290s, the top shock mount and the bottom, I believe, they do have floating shock points. So I know I've seen a lot of people literally with almost like 2x4s trying to get the shocks in the top because they won't fit back in. Somehow they came out, but they won't go back in, and that's because the frame is under some tension, and when you pull the shock out, it just narrows just a little bit. And so it's hard to get back in. So again, if you just put a little socket in there and put an extension and just kind of tap it over a little bit, it's really not that hard. So today we're going to show you on this Duke here what the tricks are. So if you come over here, on the bottom shock mount on the right-hand side, you'll notice this hex. And what this guy does is actually a reverse thread. So if you turn it clockwise from this side, it actually backs out and it's going to allow you to drop that shock right in. If you don't do this, and it's literally almost hand tight. The reason it's a reverse thread is so when you put the shock in, when you put the bolt in, you're going to want to turn this until it's a little bit tight, and then once you tighten that bolt, it won't loosen as you tighten it. That's the reason it's a left-hand thread. So as you tighten the bolt, it will also kind of tighten it against this and create a more snug fit. Now, the trick on the Duke on the top shock, now when you take the shock bolt out, you'll notice the shock just doesn't want to come out. So if you come over here, you've got some engine brace bolts right here, and those work in concert with the shock bolt. So if you don't loosen these guys, the frame has a pinch on the top of the shock and it makes it really tough to get out. So once you actually remove the upper shock bolt, just go down here and loosen these guys and the shock will just come right out. So again, not very complicated. Most KTMs, if you look at them really close, on the top and on the swing arm, they either have floating pivot points or they have little adjustments, little adjusters like this with a reverse thread on them. Once you know that, getting the shock in and out is a piece of cake. And this bike we're installing a Matrice shock. You know, a lot of people want to put aftermarket stuff on there and they just really struggle with it. And there's a lot of nightmare stories out there on forums. It's really not that hard once you take a good look at it.